Well, thank you very much uh, for taking the time and the opportunity to talk with me. I really appreciate it. It's a great day today.
Yes, the problem is, don't thank me in the least because joining you to talk about part of my life, which is the club, Club Nacional de Football, which turns 121 today. I mean, it's a privilege for me. It's really part of my life. It's more than part of my life. I was born in a home where, among other things, football was one of the main priorities. As a matter of fact, my parents met in the Parque Central, which is a legend today, and my grandfather was a chairman for quite a few periods, and it's part of my life. There's no mistake in the fact that whenever you mention the club to any member of my family, we sort of burst into happiness.
I've had the great opportunity of uh, of really learning so much about the passion um, and the success that Nacional has had since the very beginning. At the end of the 1800s, and I think that is it is a testament to Uruguayan football.
I mean, if you've been studying all the background and the history of our club, you must know that what my grandfather did in 1911 was really a breakthrough, because in this day and age, where still people discuss the importance of inclusion and racial inclusion, and he was the first one who gave a step forward towards people playing football in his club, people of all walks of life. It was like in 1911. Uh, I mean, it wasn't, the social divide was different from what it is now. But imagine a club which was, its roots came from the university world, and my grandfather said, okay, enough is enough. Regardless of race, religion, social class, anybody who has the gift for football will be welcome. And that was a very difficult step to take in those days. Not only because of not social differences, because it wasn't what we see today. It was how can you think somebody who doesn't belong, how could he join our club? And that left him with very few members. A lot of people said, okay, if that's the club you will address, or you will run, or you will guide, call it as you wish, I won't be part of that. But that was the big step towards inclusion. It's a landmark in the history of football in our country.
Yeah, I think that the origins. Looking back at the origins of football, it was brought in and cultivated by the British, and then it had a bit of there comes a question of national identity at the end of the 1800s, and
Yes,
Uruguay was very progressive because they followed a the Swiss model, and in terms of culture and
yes.
and politics, it was a very unique vision and step to take for the whole country back in the early 1900s.
That's why he deserves all the prestige he has in the history of football. I distinctly remember when Luis Suarez, who was born and, let's say, born and bred in our club, he had that terrible incident where he was accused of racist, among other people, by Sir, what was he called? The coach of the Manchester United, Ferguson.
Right.
And he called him a racist, and he didn't deserve to be a member of the Premier League. So I wrote a letter in no uncertain terms to the Liverpool authorities. As a matter of fact, it's lost in the ether. I wish I could read it again. This was years ago. And I said, mind you, if you may accuse Luis Suarez of anything but racism, because he was born and bred in a club which was the first one to open the doors for those people. So he was not sort of brought up in that manner, because Nacional has sort of, it has flocked behind it, all members of class, regardless of other social status. And we are a big landmark in the history of our country. We have great achievements. We've been able to represent Uruguay and win a championship. We have a lovely club. The premises, let's call it the field, is associated with the history of our independence. Artigas declared independence there, and today you have a stadium. And I mean, it's all linked. You can't describe the story or history of Uruguay football without our club.
No, it's the basis of some of the foundation of success on a national level and a world class level and championship level, whether it's in the Olympics or at the World Cup, it starts with Nacional. And I think that's fantastic. And right now, actually, I'm digging through the 1927 America's tour with Nacional, and it is extremely fascinating to see from an American perspective
Yes.
this fantastic club who've already won Olympic Games, and they have toured Europe already, and they've won everything. They rarely lose.
Absolutely. I mean, the dark side of this is I mean, family-wise, not football-wise. The dark side is my grandmother, who loved him dearly. I've never seen anybody ever who loved her husband as much as she did. And he was born at, well, 73 was not too young, but in those days it was more or less average. But I mean, there was a kind of, she felt something against the club, because she considered it had taken away her husband in one way. And not only time-wise, because of the hours he spent and his commitment and devotion to the club, but also because you know that the lovely thing about football is that it goes and comes. And I was grown and raised when my mother, who was extremely, I mean, she had an Oedipic type. She really admired her father. And I was more or less brought up in a world where football always gave you the opportunity, not revenge, because it's too strong a word, but you will have the opportunity to win, let's call it that way.
That's true.
So you may lose today, but you might win tomorrow.
That's right.
And it hasn't been easy for me with my children, because I've seen them depressed after derby, and I keep telling them, look, we'll play again. I mean, we'll meet again, like that lovely song. We'll meet again. So don't worry, get over it, sleep tight, and think of the next match. I think that's the essence and the beauty of the game.
I love the beautiful game. I'm passionate about the beautiful game, and I don't have one team that I subscribe to that I'm a supporter, because on the other end, I've been exposed to passionate fans, whether it's Paris or Marseille or Manchester United, and you almost have to live day by day with these people based on the results of the game the night before.
No, that's not the issue. No way. You belong to a tribe, so you color your face, you carry the banner, you buy the T-shirt with all the colors, because it gives you a sense of belonging. You have to belong with passion, understanding, sympathy, commitment. I mean, all those abstract nouns that lead you to be part of a group that has a common, it's not feeling, a common sense of belong. I belong to this club.
Now, how do you feel that his vision or his philosophy in life and his entrepreneurship, because he was quite well versed in many different areas, as well as culturally. I've come to see how literature played a big part, and I want to know how culture may have had a role in the forming or the sculpting of the philosophy and the way of life in the club.
Yes,
You know,
it's a very good question. It's remember, he was a doctor,
yes,
he was a poet,
yes,
uh, and he believed that sports, especially football, gave people the opportunity to shape their personality, to be resilient. Those days, probably the word did not exist. To cope with difficulties and with success in a gentleman-wise manner. I mean, he believed in the importance of sports in the shaping of somebody's personality, especially for his period of being as a football player and for his future. So, as a doctor himself, he believed in the importance of that type of person who is prepared to sacrifice, to give the best of himself, to train as many hours as necessary, in a way to be professional. I mean, no drinking, no outings. That was his aim. His aim was to say, okay, I'm going to have 11 people playing and 6 people waiting to come in, but these people are going to be men in the real sense of the word. It was more than vision. It was something that, in perspective, I've even asked myself more than once, how could he? How deeply convinced he must have been. He was a very special. Look, there's a lovely poem, which I don't know if I could translate it for you. Maybe I could. A lovely poem he wrote after a terrible defeat. And then success came, and the poem is called something of "The Seagull Flies Again." You thought we were dead, but here we are. Kind of. That's the
yeah,
essence. So it's a kind of resurrection. I mean, you come from the ashes,
right,
and you're born again, and then you may go back to the ashes, definitely. But that poem reflects his outlook, how he saw all this of football and fans gathering together with great respect. When he died, there was a derby on. He died on a Saturday. There was a derby that Sunday. He died on the 5th of May. And I don't think there's much precedent for this, because Peñarol's players played with a, whatever you call it, a black,
the armband.
Thank you, that's the word. Paying tribute to this man who deserved it. And it was a terrible derby because the players had been around, they had attended the wake, sleepless nights, and so we lost to them. But even that is part of the legend, even that, because they were too moved to be able to play at their full capacity. It was something, it was beyond our understanding, because as I always say, that's why I admire him so much. 1911, imagine what the world was like. And the British had brought football to our country, the gentlemen, the owners of the railway station and the gas
Yeah, exactly.
premises, etc. And he said, no, let's wait a second. People of all walks of life. This is not exclusive. This is inclusive. And when you see the word which goes around in headlines and it's used more often than not, you say, to imagine that in 1911, our club did what it did is something really worth our respect, admiration, and a bit of everything.
How was what was his implication like uh, in the building of the actual club? You know, the elements that were physically installed within the club to fit around his philosophy. You see, the actual facilities and the field.
Yes,
You know, how did his thought, how did his philosophy uh, come into play in creating a harmony? You know, that overall
yes,
harmony.
yes, because whatever he thought of was including the facilities. Okay, let's give people the opportunity to come, not to, I mean, the lovely verb, people flocked into the stadium. Everything he conceived is this is a way where we're all together and where we would invite our opponents to play fairly, uh, and the people who belong to us will have the opportunity to sit next to next. I mean, people who have that sense of belonging. And the others will also come to play a game because that's the heart of it. At the heart of it lies the fact that it's a game. And that's why uh, he focused so much on the human aspect of playing a game. To go back, or no, you always move forward. Life, you
I,
move forward within respect. He was very law abiding,
oh
terribly
yes.
law abiding. And he taught the players to be law abiding in the sense of the rules of the game.
You know, our vision, our way of playing did not mix. It was like, you know, it was like uh, oil and vinegar. It just there was a misunderstanding, you know, and there were a lot of problems that were caused, and it didn't come from one or the other. It was kind of both. It was about understanding the game, because we know that when you're good in your head,
Yes,
your body follows, and you understand.
absolutely. Well, good point. That's what he aimed at. Exactly.
Yeah,
Mind and body, uh, yes,
and
yes.
and
A
you could
kind of
see.
mindfulness in this,
That's
in
right. And you could
modern.
see those players were so well gelled together. You know, you can see a well-oiled machine psychologically and spiritually and physically, you know, throughout the years, and just to see their dominance.
Part of the legend is his commitment to our club. I didn't quite follow it. He was very loyal to the authorities.
Yeah.
He was very, that's why I tell you, he was terribly law abiding. He always followed the league. And when there was a kind of split in the league and Peñarol withdrew, uh, our club said, no, here we are. We'll play for Uruguay, regardless of all the inner conflicts. And he went ahead, and we won cup, beating Argentina of all teams. Another, I mean, part of our history. There was 1 month when our team didn't strike a goal. Imagine 4 matches.
Oh, okay.
Saturday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, a month in a row. And that is one of the things I was telling you, that my grandmother, that's why deep inside her, she was something against the club. And he endured with the same gentlemanness. He got home. That's what my mother used to tell me. She said, again, we couldn't strike a goal. The best is yet to come. Stoical, I had the right word, which means he had a great self-control, and he endured pain. He learned to cope with it. Don't
Right.
worry, this will be over. Don't worry, the best is yet to come. And it did, because after that, we had a succession of cups and Uruguayan cups, and we played abroad, and we played a very important part. But he had his stoical attitude helped. Not only did it help him, but it helped the club, because he wouldn't allow the players to give in to, okay, I can't. No, no, you can, and you will. Go on training, put up with the difficulties. You need endurance. He didn't use the word resilience. I imagine he must have said something like entrega, personal commitment. You know, medicine allows you to study the body and, in a way, the mind. So that combination of poetry, which is love and passion, science, which is medicine, and sports, which is part of both, that's where the success lies. It lies there, in that combination of, come on, let's mold you. Come on, we can. Yes, we can.
And your children are very involved in making life better for others, whether it's communicating in different ways, right?
I know.
Whether it's in the government, whether it's in filmmaking, but it's all a process of giving back to the people.
Maybe it runs in the family.
Yeah, through the generations.
Yes, maybe it runs in the family. Yes.
And
yes.
that's quite that's a great tribute to his legacy, to see that
yes,
that the future generations also felt a need, you know,
yes,
to give back and to help others.
Yes, I really appreciate your remark, because as a matter of fact, it's absolutely true. It's objectively true. They have, it runs in their genes. I mean, they come from this man. They learn to appreciate the value of things. Sometimes he said to me, look, this is the result of your passion. When they get home, sort of, oh, how could we lose to this team? And I tell him, it's not my responsibility. I've always taught them, wait for the next match. There's always light at the end of the tunnel.
That's right.
Always.
That's right.
Always.
What is one of the most important thoughts when you think about May 14th and Nacional? What makes you the most proud?
Good question. I would summarize it in a very, it's not a cliche, what it represents in the history of Europe, what the club represents in our history. That's what makes me proud.
That's and I think it's important. It's glad that you're still. I'm glad that you still feel that it's a necessity to be part of Nacional every day in your heart and your soul.
Absolutely. It's. I believe a lot in the importance in this difficult world we are living in of having the sense of belonging to a group of friends, to a family group, and in this case, to a club which is part of our history. Not my family, the country's history. I'm going to tell Facundo to follow you. You have to do something. You need a joint venture.
Yes. Yeah. I love every single opportunity that he and every exchange and opportunity that we have. He is fantastic, and I look forward to the next, what we're going to be doing with the conference to celebrate the 90th anniversary of the first World Cup, which will be, the conference portion will be in March 2021, just because of the.
Yes, you told me so. I have to thank you. No, you don't need to thank me. I have to thank you. When Facundo told me you were going to ring up, he knows I was willing to. I mean, I'm always willing to talk about this, because as I tell you, I would have been kind of an outsider in my own life if I refused. I'm inside. I'm inside and not an outsider in all. in all this passion.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a better way of celebrating the 14th of May other than to give you a kind of testimony of what this means in our lives, the lives of the Uruguayans outside there. Keep your passion. It's part of your life. It's part of all our lives. And this club deserves your passion, your commitment, and your power to support it.